What if the gods you were taught to worship were never meant to be taken literally? What if Zeus, Anubis, Odin, and Vishnu were not distant beings ruling from the sky, but symbols encoding a forgotten map of human consciousness? Across ancient temples, crumbling tablets, and whispered initiations, the gods were never merely characters in myth. They were mirrors, keys, living ideas wrapped in stories so powerful that it could survive the collapse of civilizations. Yet somewhere along the way, their true meaning was buried beneath dogma, superstition, and simplified belief. In this video, we will step beyond the surface of mythology and enter its hidden architecture. You will discover why ancient cultures personified natural forces as gods, how these figures functioned as inner archetypes rather than external rulers, and why this understanding quietly vanished from mainstream thought. This is not a lesson in mythology, it is an initiation into what the myths were really trying to teach you. Long before myths became bedtime stories or religious doctrines, they were vehicles of sacred knowledge. In ancient Egypt, the gods were called Neteru, a word not meaning deities, as we understand it today, but principles of nature. Osiris was not merely a god of the afterlife. He represented the eternal cycle of death and regeneration. Isis was not simply a divine mother, but the intelligence that reassembles what has been fragmented. To the initiated, these were not beings to worship, but forces to understand and embody. The same pattern appears across civilizations separated by oceans and millennia. In India, the Vedic gods were expressions of cosmic functions. Agni as transformation, Indra as will and power, Saraswati as flowing intelligence. In Greece, myth was philosophy in disguise. Plato himself warned that myths were symbolic truths meant for those not yet trained in direct contemplation. They were metaphors for realities, too subtle to explain directly. So, why did this knowledge fade? Because symbolic language demands inner effort. As empires rose and fell, oral traditions were replaced by rigid institutions. Myths were literalized for mass understanding, while their esoteric layers were reserved for mystery schools, priesthoods, and secret initiations. Over time, the outer story remained, but the inner meaning dissolved. What survived were gods without keys and rituals without remembrance. Imagine the mind as an ancient city. At its gates stand gods, each guarding a specific domain of human experience. Mythological gods were not invented to explain the world outside, but to map the world within. Every god represented a force moving through consciousness. Fear, love, chaos, order, destruction, renewal. Take Athena, born fully armored from the head of Zeus. This was never a strange birth myth. It was a precise psychological truth. Wisdom is not inherited. It emerges fully formed when intellect and experience converge. Athena is strategic intelligence, the calm mind that sees patterns where others see noise. When ancient Greeks invoked her, they were aligning themselves with this inner faculty. Now consider gods of chaos, Loki, Set, Kali. These figures were feared, misunderstood, even demonized. Yet chaos was never evil. It was the initiator of change. Loki breaks systems that have grown rigid. Set disrupts false order. Kali destroys illusions so truth can survive. These gods were warnings and teachers, not villains. Here lies the hidden secret. Ancient people did not pray to gods to change reality. They used gods to change themselves. Rituals were psychological technologies. Stories were memory devices. The pantheon was not a hierarchy in the sky, but a living inner ecosystem. And when these symbols are misunderstood, The forces they represent do not disappear. They simply operate unconsciously, shaping lives from the shadows. As myths spread beyond the initiates, something subtle but dangerous occurred. The symbols were mistaken for literal beings. Gods were externalized. Power was projected outward. Is greater than rich mentality. Humanity forgot that these forces lived within. This shift changed everything. When wisdom becomes a goddess instead of a cultivated state, people wait for guidance instead of developing insight. When destruction becomes a demon instead of a necessary phase, change is resisted rather than integrated. Consider the paradox of gods who die and are reborn: Osiris, Dionysus, Quetzalcoatl. These stories were never historical events. They were inner initiations. The death symbolized ego dissolution. The rebirth marked expanded awareness. Mystery schools reenacted these myths through ritual, not as theater, but as transformation. To experience the myth was to become it. Here is what no one tells you. Myths were not meant to be believed. They were meant to be entered. The initiate did not ask, "Do I worship this god?" but, "Which god am I embodying right now?" Rage was Ares, discipline was Saturn, compassion was Avalokiteshvara. The pantheon described states of being, not personalities. Modern psychology unknowingly rediscovered this truth through archetypes. Carl Jung's work echoes ancient myth, almost word for word, yet stripped of sacred language. What was once divine became clinical. But the structure remains the same, timeless patterns moving through the psyche. The tragedy is not that we stopped believing in gods, but that we stopped recognizing ourselves within them. If the gods of mythology were maps of consciousness, then learning to read them can transform your life. You do not need temples, incense, or secret societies, only attention, intention, and disciplined reflection. Here are methods to begin working with these archetypal forces in your daily life. 1. Identify your active gods. Start by observing your reactions throughout the day. Anger, fear, joy, intuition, or insight. Each emotional state is a reflection of a god or goddess at work. Are you channeling Athena's strategic clarity in solving a problem? Or have you allowed Loki's mischief, chaos, and distraction to dominate your mind? Keeping a daily journal helps map these inner deities. By naming them, you reclaim their power instead of being controlled unconsciously. 2. Ritual as inner alignment. Ritual is not about summoning lightning or appeasing spirits. It is about synchronizing your inner world with symbolic patterns. Light a candle, set a specific intention, or recite a phrase that embodies the god you wish to activate. If you are seeking clarity, meditate on Athena or Saraswati, visualizing the light of wisdom entering your mind. If transformation is needed, invoke Kali or Set to symbolically burn away attachments and old patterns. The key is deliberate imagination. Your mind is the temple, and attention is the altar. 3. Myth as meditation. Read or listen to myths slowly, allowing each scene to play in your mind like a vivid dream. Step into the role of the characters, not as external observers, but as participants. What does it feel like to wrestle with Zeus's authority? To dance in Dionysian ecstasy? To witness Osiris's death and rebirth? Each myth becomes an experiential mirror of your psyche. Over time, repeated practice deepens self-awareness, revealing hidden tendencies and unlocking dormant capacities. 4. Shadow. Work through gods. Many gods personify what we resist: the shadow side of personality. Aries is unchecked aggression. Loki is disruptive. Cunning. Set is destruction. Instead of labeling these as bad, engage with them intentionally. Journaling, visualization, or even guided dialogue can reveal what lessons lie hidden. By embracing these aspects consciously, you convert destructive impulses into conscious creativity. The shadow gods cease to control you. They become allies. 5. Synchronizing daily life. Apply this knowledge practically. When faced with difficult decisions, ask, which god would act with balance and wisdom? Which goddess embodies courage and compassion in this moment? Even mundane tasks, work, relationships, self-care, can become conscious exercises in embodying archetypal energy, is greater than rich mentality. Over time, life begins to feel less reactive and more orchestrated, as if each moment has its own divinely coded rhythm. 6. Integration and reflection. Transformation occurs not through belief, but through embodiment. Track patterns over weeks and months. Notice when certain gods dominate, when others are silent, and what that reveals about your inner state. Periodically revisit myths, allowing new layers of understanding to emerge. This cyclical reflection mirrors the very process ancient initiates called living the myth, turning the symbolic into the practical, the mystical into the everyday. The profound beauty of this practice is that it reveals an inner world alive with intelligence, order, and transformative potential. You are no longer simply a human navigating life blindly. You become an active participant in the grand architecture of consciousness. Every emotion, challenge, and insight becomes a dialogue with forces older than civilization itself. By engaging consciously, the gods stop being distant figures in storybooks and start being living guides within you. The gods of mythology were never meant to sit idle on pedestals. They were mirrors, teachers, and maps of the hidden landscapes within us. When we stop seeing them as stories and start seeing them as reflections of our own consciousness, every myth becomes a living guide, every ritual a tool for self-mastery, and every archetype a doorway to transformation. What if the very forces you once dismissed as distant or imaginary are the ones quietly shaping your life right now? By learning to recognize, embody, and harmonize with them, you reclaim a lost language of wisdom, one that has survived millennia, waiting for those willing to remember. Step beyond belief, step into understanding. Let the myths awaken not just your imagination, but your inner power. And as you walk this path, ask yourself, which god or goddess are you embodying today? If this journey into the hidden truths of myth resonated with you, explore further, reflect deeply, and share your insights, because the conversation with the divine is never finished.